June 11, 2021, 4:00 p.m. UTC, Stockholm, Sweden. A network engineer at Telia Carrier, one of Europe's largest internet backbone providers, types 7 characters into a router configuration file. 7 characters, that's all it takes. Within 45 seconds, over 500,000 IPv4 routes vanish from the internet. Banking systems freeze. Emergency services can't communicate. Air traffic control loses connection to backup systems. 5.4 million people in Norway suddenly can't access the internet. Hospitals can't reach patient records. Businesses hemorrhage money by the second. Government systems go dark. One person, one typo, one router, and an entire country's digital infrastructure starts collapsing. This is the story of how close we came to a Nordic internet blackout and the 37-year-old network engineer who had exactly 11 minutes to stop it before permanent damage set in. Before we dive into those critical 11 minutes, understand this. What you're about to hear is based on actual BGP routing data, internal telecommunications reports, and interviews with network engineers who were there when it happened. This isn't theoretical. This happened, and it can happen again. Tomorrow in your city, to systems you depend on to survive. If you want to understand just how fragile our connected world really is, you need to stay until the end of this story. Because the twist, the real reason this almost ended in catastrophe, isn't what you think. Hit subscribe. Share this with someone who thinks the internet just works. And let's talk about the invisible systems holding our world together by a thread. This is Quiet Collapse. Now, let's rewind to where it all started going wrong. Oslo, Norway. June 11, 2021. 3:47 p.m. UTC. Christian Berg sits in the Network Operations Center of Telia Norge, Norway's primary telecommunications backbone. He's 37, been doing this for 14 years, seen every kind of outage you can imagine. He's not prepared for what's about to hit. On his third monitor, a cascade of red alerts starts flooding in. Not one or two, hundreds, thousands. Prefix unreachable, prefix unreachable, prefix unreachable. What the hell? His colleague Mari turns from her station. You seeing this? Christian's fingers fly across the keyboard, pulling up BGP routing tables. What he sees makes his stomach drop. Over 500,000 IPv4 routes, gone. Just vanished from the global routing table, like someone flipped a light switch on half the internet's roadmap. Get Stockholm on the line, now. Murray's already dialing. It's not responding. Stockholm's trunk line is, try the backup. I am. It's dead too. Christian pulls up the AS.1299 status, Telia Carrier's autonomous system number, the routing identity for one of Europe's biggest internet backbones. His screen shows a nightmare. BGP sessions, 847 active, dropping. Now 723, now 592, now 381. Every number represents a connection to other networks. Every drop means more of the internet losing access to Telia's routes, and Telia carries massive chunks of Nordic internet traffic. We've got hospitals calling in, another engineer shouts across the room. Oslo University Hospital can't reach their cloud backup. Patient records are timing out. Christian's phone starts ringing, then Mari's, then every phone in the knock. He silences his and focuses on the screen. Think. BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, is the postal service of the internet. Every autonomous system announces which IP addresses it can reach. Routers worldwide use this information to direct traffic along the best path. But BGP was designed in 1989. It runs on trust. If a major carrier like Telia suddenly announces wrong information or stops announcing anything, chaos spreads fast. And right now, Telia is doing something that should be impossible. It's telling the world that hundreds of thousands of IP ranges don't exist anymore. Christian, Mari's voice is tight. We just lost the government network. Justice Department, Transport Authority, Tax Administration, all offline. He pulls up a tracer route to the Norwegian government's main IP block. The route terminates at Telia's Stockholm exchange. Black hold. Traffic goes in, nothing comes out. How many people are we talking about? Mari checks her screen. In Norway alone? Conservative estimate, 5.4 million users affected. Banking systems are down. Credit card processing is failing. The goddamn traffic light synchronization system in Oslo just went to fail-safe mode. Christian feels sweat on his palms. Traffic lights. That means the smart grid managing them lost connection to its central controller. His screen updates. AS1299 BGP sessions, 247 active. They're bleeding out. Stockholm is on backup line too, someone calls out. Christian grabs the phone. This is Berg in Oslo. What the hell happened? The voice on the other end is tense, professional. We know, we're looking at it. Appears to be an aggregated prefix misconfiguration during a routine policy update at 16 UTC. English, please. Someone updated a routing policy for how we aggregate IP ranges. It black-holed everything under those aggregates. Half our IPv4 table and a third of IPv6. Can you roll it back? We're trying to identify the exact config change. It's buried in... The line cuts out. Christian stares at the dead phone, then at his screen. AS1299 BGP sessions, 189 active. Less than a quarter of their original connections remain live, and those are dropping fast. He pulls up a map of affected networks. Red spots bloom across Scandinavia like a spreading infection. Norway, 5.4 million users offline. Sweden, partial outages in Stockholm, Gothenburg. Finland, transit routes through Telia disrupted. Denmark, banking systems experiencing timeouts. This isn't just an outage anymore. This is infrastructure collapse in real time. Christian, we've got emergency services calling. Ambulance dispatch in Bergen can't reach hospital routing systems. They're on radio backup, but... I know. His mind races. They can't fix this from Oslo. The problem is in Stockholm, in Telia Carrier's core network. But if Stockholm is also losing connection, he needs to see the actual BGP data, not filtered through monitoring systems, raw. He opens a terminal and connects to a public BGP route monitor, one of hundreds around the world that independently track routing announcements. It's slower, but it can't be taken down by Telia's internal problems. The data loads. He filters for AS1299 announcements. His screen fills with red withdraw messages, thousands of them, all stamped between 16:34 and 16:01:18 UTC, 44 seconds. That's how long it took for one configuration change to cascade across the global internet. And now they have, he checks the clock, 9 minutes before major financial systems start triggering automatic disconnection protocols. Once those kick in, bringing everything back online will take hours, not minutes. 9 minutes to save 5.4 million people from digital isolation. His phone rings again. Stockholm, different line. Berg, this is Hansen, Senior Network Architect. We've isolated the config file. The aggregation command had a malformed syntax that created a black hole route instead of a summary route. Can you roll back? We're testing the rollback config now on a shadow router. If we push it live without testing and it makes things worse, how long for testing? Standard protocol is 20 minutes. We don't have 20 minutes, we have 8. Silence on the line. Then, if we push an untested config and it cascades another failure, we could take down the entire European backbone. Not just Telia, everyone who peers with us. Christian closes his eyes. Classic engineering nightmare. The safe choice takes too long. The fast choice could make it catastrophically worse. His screen updates. AS1299 BGP sessions, 142 active. They're running out of time. Subscribe to Quiet Collapse, because what happens next will show you exactly how fragile our digital infrastructure really is. Stockholm, Sweden. Telia Carrier Network Operations Center. 4:09 p.m. UTC. Lars Hansen stares at the shadow router test results. The rollback config looks clean. It should work. Should. But should means nothing when you're about to push commands to a router that controls internet routing for 200 million people. His phone buzzes. Text from Oslo. Financial institutions starting auto-disconnect protocols in 6 min. He looks at his colleague, Sophia Lindström, Telia's lead routing engineer. She's 31, has a photographic memory for BGP path attributes, and right now looks like she might throw up. Sophia, your call. She pulls up the offending configuration file on the main screen. There it is. Line 847. IP route 0.0.0.00, aggregate black hole. Should have been IP route 0.0.0.00, aggregate summary only. One word, one wrong word. That's the difference between summarize these routes efficiently and send all traffic matching this to nowhere. And because it was applied to aggregated prefixes, basically the container holding thousands of smaller IP ranges, the black hole swallowed everything inside it. We push the rollback, Sophia says. You're sure? No. But we're losing sessions faster than we can count. If we wait for full testing, there won't be anything left to save. Lars nods. He opens the change management system, types in the emergency override code. A warning flashes. Emergency config change. No rollback test completed. This action may cause network instability. Approve. YN, he types Y. The command propagates to Stockholm's core router, AS1299 core 01. For 5 seconds, nothing happens. Then, their monitoring screens light up green. BGP sessions starting to restore. 189 active, 247, 312, 398. It's working, someone breathes. Sophia refreshes her BGP data feed. The withdraw messages have stopped. Now she's seeing announce messages, routes being re-advertised to the internet. But something's wrong. She zooms in on the path attributes. The routes are coming back, yes, but some of them have wrong next hop addresses. Not badly wrong, just off by a few bits. Lars, the rollback worked, but we've got malformed next hop attributes on about 3% of restored routes. How bad? Bad enough that some traffic will get misrouted. Not black-holed, just sent to the wrong autonomous system. Which one? She checks. Her face goes pale. S4134, China Telecom. Lars feels ice in his chest. China Telecom, one of the world's largest carriers. If traffic intended for European destinations gets accidentally routed through Chinese infrastructure, how much traffic are we talking about? Around 40,000 prefixes, including some government networks, some banking infrastructure. This is how international incidents start, not from malice, from typos and cascading failures. Can we fix it without another rollback? We'd have to manually correct each prefix. That's hours of work. Lars checks the NOC status board. BGP sessions, 521 active and climbing. The Norway outage is resolving. 5.4 million people getting their internet back. But now they've created a new problem. A route leak sending European traffic through China. Oslo knock, same time. Christian watches his screens turn from red to yellow to green. The cascade is reversing. Networks reconnecting. The digital map of Norway lighting back up. His phone rings. Mari answers it, listens, her face hardening. Christian, we've got a new issue. Some government traffic is routing through Asia Pacific. Treasury Department is flagging it as a security concern. Of course. They fixed the black hole, but the emergency rollback introduced a different error. He pulls up the route trace for the Norwegian Ministry of Finance's IP block. The path shows Oslo, Stockholm, Frankfurt, Beijing, back to Stockholm, Oslo. A route that should be 2 hops is bouncing through China. Encrypted traffic, sure, but the metadata, who's connecting to what, when, how much data, that's all visible to any router handling the traffic. Get me Stockholm again. Mari patches him through. Hansen, this is Berge. I'm seeing traffic routing through AS4134. We know. We're working on it. The rollback config had some inheritance issues from the previous change. Fixing it now, but it requires surgical edits. How long? 20 minutes for the corrections. Another 10 for BGP convergence. Christian does the math. 30 minutes of sensitive European government and financial traffic bouncing through Chinese infrastructure. The geopolitical nightmare this could create. Can we isolate just the government prefixes and fix those first? Already on it. Finance Ministry's, Justice Department's, defense networks, those get priority routing fixes. We'll have them corrected in 7 minutes. And the financial systems? They're mostly back online, but yeah, some transaction routing is suboptimal. Nothing security critical, just slower paths and some packet loss. Christian's screen shows a new alert. The central bank's real-time gross settlement system, the backbone of Norway's financial transactions, is reporting intermittent connectivity. Every second this system is unstable, millions of kroner in transactions are stuck in limbo. Not lost, but frozen. Businesses can't receive payments. Payroll systems are delayed. He pulls up the transaction queue. 18,000 payments pending, growing. Mari, get the central bank on the line. They need to know their RTGS system is experiencing routing delays. She nods, already dialing. Christian watches the BGP sessions counter. 647 active, almost back to normal. But almost isn't good enough when you're dealing with infrastructure that moves $47 billion per day. His terminal pings. A message from one of the public BGP monitors he's been watching. Alert. Possible route leak detected. AS2299 announcing prefixes with incorrect next hop via AS4134. Estimated affected networks. 1,290 AS numbers across 100+ countries. This isn't just a Nordic problem anymore. It's gone global. The original black hole affected primarily Telia's direct customers. But this route leak, this is sending traffic from all over Europe on bizarre detours through Asia. Internet service providers in Germany are seeing latency spikes. French networks are reporting packet loss. UK businesses are experiencing timeouts on EU data centers. One misconfigured router in Stockholm is creating ripples across 3 continents, and they still have 6 minutes before the government routing fixes go live. Christian's phone rings. Unknown number. Berge. Mr. Berge, this is Anderson from Encom, the Norwegian Communications Authority, the government agency overseeing telecom infrastructure. We need a status update on the Telia incident. We're getting calls from the Ministry of Justice about compromised routing. Christian takes a breath. We experienced a BGP misconfiguration event at Telia Carrier Stockholm at 16:00 UTC. Initial black hole affected approximately 500,000 routes. Emergency rollback was successful, but introduced a secondary route leak through AS4134. Telia is implementing surgical corrections now. ETA 6 minutes for government networks, 25 minutes for full resolution. AS4134 is China Telecom. Correct. How much traffic was exposed? Approximately 40,000 prefixes, all encrypted at transport layer, but metadata visible to transit routers. Silence. Then, we'll need a full incident report, timeline, affected systems, data exposure assessment. You have 24 hours. The line goes dead. Christian leans back. 24 hours to document how close they came to catastrophic failure. His screen updates. BGP sessions, 723 active. Mari calls over. Stockholm says government routing fixes are propagating now. Should see restoration in 90 seconds. He watches the tracer route for the Ministry of Finance. Oslo, Stockholm, Frankfurt, Beijing, Stockholm, Oslo, Oslo, Stockholm, Frankfurt, Beijing, Stockholm, Oslo, Oslo, Stockholm, Frankfurt, Oslo. The Beijing hop disappears. Route is clean. Government networks secured, he confirms. Now they just need to fix the other 37,000 prefixes still routing through China and figure out how a routine configuration update turned into an international incident, and somehow explain to regulators how one typo almost took down a country. Easy. Stockholm Telia Carrier Norway, 4:37 p.m. UTC. Sophia Lindström's fingers haven't stopped moving in 37 minutes. She's manually correcting BGP next hop attributes prefix by prefix in configuration files that span thousands of lines. Each correction takes 12 to 15 seconds. She has 37,000 to fix. Do the math, she'll be here for days, but she has help now. 8 other senior engineers, all typing in synchronized rhythm, each taking a block of prefixes. Sector 7 cleared, one calls out. 2,300 prefixes corrected and verified. Sector 3 cleared, 1,147 prefixes. Sophia handles Sector 1, the most critical routes. Financial institutions, healthcare systems, government infrastructure. The stuff that can't afford even milliseconds of additional latency. Her terminal shows the current status. Corrected, 18,429, 37,284 prefixes, BGP sessions, 789, 847 restored root leak exposure, active, 18,855 prefixes, still via AS4134. She takes a sip of cold coffee, grimaces, keeps typing. Her colleague Martin wheels over in his chair. Sophia, we need to talk about how this happened. Later. Right now I need to... No, now, because in 15 minutes the executive team is going to conference call and they'll want answers. And you know they're going to ask, how does a senior network engineer push a malformed config to production? Sophia stops typing. Her jaw tightens. It wasn't malicious, she says quietly. I know that. Everyone knows that. But we still need to understand the chain of failure. She pulls up the changelog. The original configuration update was supposed to optimize route aggregation, combine multiple small IP announcements into larger blocks for efficiency, reduces BGP table size, improves convergence time, standard network optimization. The engineer who wrote it, Niels Pettersson, 15 years at Telia, solid track record, used a template from their internal configuration library. The template had been updated 3 months ago to include the new aggregation syntax, except the template had a typo in the example code. Right there in line 12, IP route 0.0.0.000 aggregate black hole. That one wrong word, sitting in a template file, waiting to be copied. Niels copied the template, filled in his specific IP ranges, tested it on the lab network, which, because it's isolated, didn't show the black hole effect. The black hole only triggers when routes propagate to external BGP peers. He submitted the change for peer review. 2 engineers signed off on it. Both missed the error. They were checking the IP ranges, the AS path prepending, the community tags. Nobody caught the single wrong word buried in boilerplate code. The change went to production at 16:00 UTC. By 16:44 UTC, the internet was melting down. It's a systemic failure, Sophia says. Template wasn't validated. Lab environment didn't match production topology. Peer review focused on wrong parameters. We had 4 chances to catch this. We missed all 4. Martin nods slowly. So what do we do differently? Automated config validation before production push, no matter how senior the engineer, and lab environments that mirror production BGP peering topology, not just internal routing. That'll slow down changes. Good. Speed is what got us here. Her screen pings. Another sector cleared. 4,022 prefixes corrected. She goes back to typing. Fixing what speed broke. Oslo, Norway. Norwegian Ministry of Finance. 4:51 p.m. UTC. Elizabeth Haugen, Deputy Director of Digital Infrastructure Security, reads the incident report for the 3rd time. 500,000 routes black-holed. 5.4 million users affected. Government traffic routed through Chinese infrastructure for 18 minutes. She picks up her phone, calls the Minister of Digitalization. Minister, we have a situation. By 5 p.m. UTC, emergency meetings are convening in 3 different government buildings. This isn't just a technical incident anymore. It's a national security review. The questions being asked: how can one private company's error take down government systems? Why do critical services depend on a single routing infrastructure? What data was exposed during the Chinese route leak? Who is financially liable for the outage damages? Elizabeth knows these questions will turn into policy reviews, which will turn into regulations, which will turn into mandates for infrastructure redundancy that will cost billions. All because of 7 characters in a configuration file. She opens her laptop and starts drafting the preliminary security assessment. This is going to be a long night. Stockholm, Telia Carrier, knock. 5:08 p.m. UTC. Lars Hansen takes the executive conference call in a glass-walled meeting room overlooking the NOC floor. On the screen, Telia's CTO, COO, Chief Legal Counsel, and Head of Public Relations. Talk me through it, the CTO says. Lars explains. The template error, the failed review process, the cascading black hole, the emergency rollback, the route leak. Estimated damages, the COO asks. We're still calculating. Direct costs to Telia, overtime, emergency response, crisis communications, probably around $2 million, indirect costs from affected customers. We've already got preliminary claims from financial institutions totaling $47 million. Norwegian government is conducting a formal review that could result in regulatory fines. The chief legal counsel makes a note. What's our liability exposure? Our SLA agreements have force majeure clauses for unprecedented technical failures, but this wasn't unprecedented. This was human error compounded by process failure. I'd expect most customer claims to have legal merit. How do we spin this? The PR head asks. Lars feels anger flash hot in his chest. We don't spin it. We own it. We explain exactly what happened, how we're fixing it, and what we're doing to prevent recurrence. That's a very honest approach. It's the only approach that maintains customer trust. The CTO nods. Agreed. Lars, draft a technical post-mortem. Full transparency. I want it published within 72 hours. The meeting ends. Lars returns to the knock floor. Sophia looks up from her terminal. We're at 89% correction. Should have full root leak containment in 12 minutes. Good work. Lars, I keep thinking. What if we hadn't caught it? What if the rollback had failed? He considers this. Then you'd be reading about the Nordic internet blackout of 2021 in history books, and we'd all be looking for new careers. One configuration file. One configuration file, he agrees. Welcome to infrastructure engineering, where typos cost millions and everybody gets second-guessed. She manages a weak smile. I chose the wrong profession. We all did. That's why we're good at it. At 5:19 p.m. UTC, the last corrected configuration propagates through the BGP network. The root leak stops. Traffic patterns normalize. The red alerts finally stop screaming. In Oslo, Christian Berge watches his screens return to steady green. All systems nominal. He picks up his phone, calls his wife. I'm going to be late tonight. Yeah, very late. No, I can't talk about it yet. I know. I love you too. He hangs up and starts writing the incident timeline that will become a case study in network engineering courses worldwide. This is Quiet Collapse, where we show you how close the systems you trust came to complete failure. Subscribe, share, and stay until the end. Because the final chapter reveals something even more disturbing than what you've already seen. Stockholm, Telia Carrier headquarters, June 14th, 2021. 3 days later. The conference room is packed. Network engineers, executives, government regulators, independent auditors from RIPE NCC, the European Internet Registry. Sophia Lindström stands at the front, presenting the technical post-mortem. On the screen behind her, incident timeline 16 UTC. Malformed config pushed to AS 99 core, row 1, 16:44 UTC. BGP route withdrawals cascade globally, 16:01:38 UTC. Oslo, no C detects mass outage, 16:08:15 UTC. Emergency rollback initiated 16:09:02 UTC. Route restoration begins 16:11:47 UTC. Route leak to AS 4134. Detected 16:43:29 UTC. Government networks corrected 17:19:03 UTC. Full route leak containment. Total outage duration 69 minutes for black hole effect. Total route leak exposure 79 minutes. Affected users 5.4 million, Norway. Additional unknown millions, global. Financial impact 47 MEMI plus in claims, 2 M plus in direct response costs. The root cause, Sophia says, was a malformed syntax in our internal configuration template library. The template showed black hole instead of summary only in the aggregation command. This error was replicated into a production change, missed by peer review, and not caught by our lab testing because the lab environment doesn't fully replicate our external BGP peering topology. A regulator raises her hand. Why doesn't your lab environment match production? Cost and complexity. Full production topology includes 847 BGP sessions with external peers. Replicating that in lab would require real peering agreements with other networks just for testing purposes. So you test in an environment that can't catch production errors. Sophia meets her eyes. Correct, we're changing that. New testing protocol requires at least 10 external BGP peer simulations in lab, including major transit providers. When will this be implemented? Already is. We pushed the first change through new protocol this morning. Took 3 times longer than our old process. Also caught 2 potential issues the old process would have missed. Another regulator speaks up. What about the route leak to China Telecom? What data was exposed? Lars Hansen takes this one. All traffic was encrypted at the transport layer, standard TLS HTTPS. However, metadata was visible to any router handling the traffic. That means AS4134 could theoretically see source IPs, destination IPs, connection timing, and data volumes. Not the content, but the patterns. For government networks. For 18 minutes, yes. Though I'll note that AS4134 handles massive amounts of global traffic daily. Whether they specifically analyzed this particular routing anomaly is unknown and, frankly, unknowable. The room is quiet. A ripe NCC auditor leans forward. This incident exposed a fundamental fragility in BGP. We've known about these vulnerabilities for years. Why isn't RPKI, Resource Public Key Infrastructure, deployed universally to prevent route leaks? Lars sighs. RPKI requires every autonomous system to cryptographically sign their route announcements and every peer to validate those signatures. It's technically sound, but deployment is slow because it requires industry-wide coordination and it adds computational overhead. Which is more important, computational overhead or preventing country-level outages? You're preaching to the choir. We've been advocating for RPKI deployment for 5 years. As of this incident, Telia Carrier now requires all our major peers to support RPKI validation. We're also signing all our own route announcements. That's reactive, not proactive. Correct. Welcome to infrastructure engineering. The meeting continues for 3 more hours. Every decision is scrutinized, every process questioned, every assumption challenged. At the end, the chief regulator from ENCOM stands. Telia will submit a formal remediation plan within 30 days. That plan will include automated configuration validation, enhanced testing environments, mandatory RPKI deployment, and independent audits of all change management processes. Failure to comply will result in operational restrictions on your Norwegian network presence. Lars nods. Understood. The room clears. Sophia and Lars remain. Could have been worse, Sophia says. Could have been better. Should have been prevented. You sound like the regulators. They're not wrong. Sophia gathers her notes. Do you think this will actually change anything? Industry-wide, I mean. Or will everyone just wait until it happens to them? Lars looks at the timeline still projected on the screen. 69 minutes. That's all it took to expose how fragile the entire system is. Some will change, some won't. And in 5 years, we'll be reading about another incident just like this one. Different country, different company, same fundamental problem. BGP is broken. BGP was designed in 1989 for a network of 100,000 routes, managed by trusted academics. Now it handles 900,000 plus routes, managed by profit-driven corporations in adversarial geopolitical environments. It's a miracle it works at all. Oslo, Norway, June 14, 2021. Christian Berg sits in his home office, reading Telia's public incident report. It's technically accurate, appropriately humble, and completely terrifying if you understand the implications. His daughter knocks on the door. She's 12. Dad, the internet went down last week at school. Was that your thing? Wasn't my thing, but yeah, probably related. Everyone was freaking out because we couldn't submit our homework. Christian smiles. Must have been rough. It was like 20 minutes, but everyone acted like the world was ending. Well, in a way, it almost did. She looks at him skeptically. The internet went down. That's not the end of the world. He wants to explain. Wants to tell her about the hospital that couldn't access patient records, the ambulance dispatch that lost routing coordination, the payment systems that froze, the traffic lights that went to fail-safe mode. But she's 12. So instead, he says, "You're right. Just an inconvenience." She nods and leaves. Christian looks at his screen, at the BGP routing diagrams he's been studying, at the single point of failure that almost cascaded into catastrophe. He thinks about the next incident. Because there will be a next incident. Maybe it'll be another typo, maybe a malicious attack, maybe just equipment failure at the wrong moment, but it will happen. And next time they might not catch it in 11 minutes. He opens a new document and starts writing recommendations for the Norwegian government's infrastructure review. Redundancy, diversity, defense in depth, all expensive, all necessary, all unlikely to be fully implemented before the next crisis. He writes anyway, because someone has to. 6 months later, December 2021, the reforms are implemented. Telia has new protocols. RPKI deployment increases across Europe. Regulators issue new guidelines. Everyone feels safer. But in a data center in Virginia, a different kind of vulnerability is waiting. A graduate student named Jennifer Park is working on her PhD in network security. She's been studying the Telia incident, analyzing the BGP data, looking at the cascade patterns. And she's found something nobody else noticed. During the 69-minute black hole event, while everyone was focused on the routes disappearing, something else happened. For exactly 4.7 seconds, a small set of highly specific routes were announced from an autonomous system that shouldn't have had them. Jennifer pulls up the data. June 11, 2021, 16:51 UTC, AS64512 announces 47 prefixes. Prefixes include investment banks, government finance systems, cryptocurrency exchanges. 16:56 UTC, announcements withdrawn 4.7 seconds. That's how long the announcements existed before being pulled back. Too short for most monitoring systems to flag as suspicious. In the chaos of the Telia outage, these brief announcements were completely overlooked. But Jennifer knows what for. 7 seconds is long enough for BGP hijacking, route traffic briefly to the wrong destination, capture what you can, withdraw before detection. She does a traceroute analysis of where traffic would have gone during those 4.7 seconds. The routes point to a data center in Romania, registered to a shell company. The company dissolved 3 weeks after the Telia incident. Jennifer's stomach goes cold. Someone used the Telia chaos as cover for a targeted BGP hijack. She starts tracing which specific services were targeted. The 47 prefixes resolve to 12 cryptocurrency exchange servers, 8 international banking authentication systems, 14 government financial networks across 6 countries, 13 high-frequency trading platforms, all systems handling either large financial transactions or authentication credentials. In 4.7 seconds, how much data could someone capture? She runs the calculations. Assuming standard traffic volumes for these services during European business hours, approximately 2.3 terabytes. That's login credentials, session tokens, transaction details, encrypted financial data. Encrypted? Yes. But encryption can be broken, especially by someone sophisticated enough to plan a BGP hijack timed to coincide with a major routing incident. Jennifer reaches for her phone. This needs to be reported. But reported to who? The attacks happened 6 months ago. The data center is gone. The company is dissolved. The affected organizations don't even know they were compromised. And if she publishes this finding, she'll be revealing an attack vector that most people don't know exists. She'll be teaching every bad actor in the world exactly how to exploit BGP chaos for cover. Her finger hovers over the phone. Then she makes the call. FBI Cyber Division, how may I direct your call? I need to report a suspected state-level BGP hijacking attack that occurred during the June 2021 Telia outage. 1 moment, please. She waits, thinking about those 4.7 seconds, about how everyone was so focused on the obvious disaster that nobody saw the quiet theft happening in the shadows. That's the real threat, not the spectacular failures that make the news, the invisible ones, the ones that hide inside the chaos. The ones nobody notices until it's far too late. The FBI agent comes on the line. Jennifer starts explaining. And somewhere in Oslo, Christian Berg's phone rings with an urgent callback from Encom. The incident isn't over. It never was. This was based on real events. The Telia incident happened. The BGP vulnerabilities are real. The financial exposure is real. And the invisible threat, the exploitation hiding inside the chaos, that's real too. We live in a world held together by protocols designed in 1989, managed by humans who make mistakes, monitored by systems that can't see everything. One typo, one router, one moment of chaos, that's all it takes. If this story made you think differently about how fragile our connected world really is, subscribe to Quiet Collapse. Share this with someone who needs to understand that the internet doesn't just work. It works because engineers are holding it together with constant vigilance, split-second decisions, and sheer determination. Drop a comment. Did you know BGP had no built-in security? Did you realize one configuration error could take down an entire country's internet? And stay vigilant, because the next quiet collapse is already waiting to happen. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay alert. This is Quiet Collapse.